Hey everyone, welcome to BrickVault. My name's Jack, and today we've got a LEGO Ideas set to unbox for you guys. This is the Adventure Time set. More specifically, these are the buildable figures, and the set is recommended for ages 9 and up. It is set number 21308, and it has 495 pieces. Included are essentially 8 different characters. The build styles for them vary somewhat, but we've got some awesome looking colors, and I'm definitely looking forward to building these characters. All right, so let's check out what's inside the box. Alright, so the box contains 3 very colorful bags and of course a colorful manual to go along with it. The inside of course has information about Adventure Time and the characters that you're going to be building, and of course the back of the manual, as I'm sure, yes, has information on the builders that created this set. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so all of the brick built figures are done, and that was actually a pretty fast build. And you know what? The set age range was 9 and up, which is kind of new. At least it's something I haven't seen before. So maybe that's a new thing for 2017 sets. But anyways, it went really fast. 45 minutes for basically 500 parts is a pretty quick build, and I think that's just because this is just such a simple sort of style of building. And I think what makes sense here is to check out these figures in the fashion that they're made, and to also compare them to how they were built from the LEGO Ideas set. So let's start off with Finn, of course. There isn't much different about this guy than what you see from the LEGO Ideas set, except those arm pieces were not molded in tan, and I believe that's because they decided to use this mold for all of the different characters, and if they decided to change this to flesh tone, it would have made more sense for them to change it to all the different colors that were being used for all the different characters in order to be consistent, and so they decided to not do that because it probably would have increased production costs. Anyways, long story short, it's gray. It doesn't look quite as good as what the Ideas set wanted, but I think in order for this set to get produced, that was a necessary sacrifice. So I'm not going to complain about this being gray for all of the different characters. That would be redundant. But anyways, Finn looks good. The print is great on his face, and the proportions for his body are fine. I mean, literally everything else just is totally fine. I like the build for the sword, and I believe the build for Jake is a little bit more different than compared to the Ideas original design, and I think this one is better. The print that makes up his dog face is very simple, and I like that they decided to make that new eye print for a lot of these characters, and it works well for Jake, and I prefer him having the short stubby arms as opposed to the longer ones. That would have been a little bit strange for a character that size. Now BMO, we have sort of an interesting comparison because we have what his original design was from Ideas, but there's also a version of him that came out for LEGO Dimensions. He's got his own special print that shows all of his buttons at the bottom, which I think looks great, but in order for BMO to scale for the rest of these buildable figures, they had to make him smaller, and interestingly enough, this time they decided to not use the new colored sausage pieces that came out for him in Dimensions, but keep them black, which is, I think, also a new color. I don't know why they didn't decide to just keep the blue sausage color from Dimensions, but I think it looks fine. Because he's smaller, he's a little bit wider, and I think the proportions work a little better there. The print for his face is great, and he comes with 2 joysticks. Super simple builds. Now let's move down the line. The second bag of building had these 3 characters, first one being Gunther. I think this version of him is a little bit more accurate to the cartoon, though I do like the original Ideas build just a little bit better. He's kind of a cuter character this way. Not much actually has changed about him, just the head is a little bit more rounded. That's pretty much it. Now next is the Ice King, and I believe both versions of the original Ideas set and this guy look pretty good, though the Ice King here I think does actually look a little bit better after the redesign. His crown is just a little bit more accurate, and I like the frost pieces that are used on his hands. The beard is pretty much the same, though a little bit longer looking here. And altogether, I'd say he's a much better character, especially with that open looking mouth. A really nice build, actually. Now here is Marceline. There's hardly any differences between her and the original design, though she is a little bit taller. I think that was a nicer touch, and they added those extra builds for the hair in the front. That was also a good touch. Now, I don't know why they switched the design for her axe base. The original does look better. It looks more accurate. The blades kind of splay outwards, so that's kind of beyond me, because if you just switch them around like this, I don't know, I just think it looks more accurate. Now, the last bag had Princess Bubblegum and Lady Rainicorn. Let's take a look at Princess Bubblegum. Her improvements I thought were drastic. Now, they decided to switch her style up quite a bit, so she had the posable arms. So I can't say that the original design was bad. It's just a different interpretation, but regardless, the top of the head still looks better with the crown. As you can tell, a lot of these BrickVault figs are scaled to each other a little bit better than their original design from Ideas. But anyways, she's pretty good. A little bit too much weight on the back because her hair doesn't touch the ground. So this is one of the figs you have to be just a little bit careful with because she falls backwards all the time. But let's move on to the very last figure from the build, and actually my favorite. This is Lady Rainicorn. Now, I feel like a lot of people were kind of critical on her redesign because there's a lot less color going on. The only thing that I sort of wish this character had was that she was just a little bit longer, but she was redesigned in order to be size proportional to the rest of the BrickVault figs, which I think in the long run looks a lot better. So she doesn't have the color yellow in her, which I think is probably the thing that most people were sort of disappointed about in terms of accuracy. But the nose is much more narrow, her snout, or whatever you call it. So I think ultimately she actually does look quite a bit better. I like the mane that flows just on one side. There is a missing spot, and that's so you can have a little bit of posability between those last 2 joints there. And ultimately, I think she looks pretty darn good. So here it is, the entire set together. We've got 8 figures. I think if anybody's going to be disappointed from this set, it is purely because there were 15 in the original Ideas design, and they only decided to choose half, but I think they chose the better half, and the redesigns were art in order to make these all look proportional. So when you put these characters all together, everybody looks like they're all kind of in the same universe and actually next to each other in this Lego blocky world that they now exist in. This isn't a particularly cheap set. The part to price ratio is just barely kind of hitting that even point, but we do get a lot of very nice colors. Everything here is printed, which is always excellent about a Lego Ideas set. And so really this is all about how much you like the Adventure Time show. Anyways, I'm pretty happy with it, and yeah, that's my review. Okay, so that is it for this set review. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoy our content, and if you do, you can always hit that like or subscribe button. I've left a link in the video description below if you want to buy the set, and that is it. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time at BrickVault.